this big, crazy blockbuster trade that was supposed to go down between the Philadelphia Flyers and was it the
St. Louis Blues?
Oh, yes. Sorry. The St. Louis Blues. Yes. I don't know why, because Torey Krug is right at the top of our list. So I do not know why I blanked on that. Anyway. Yes. So it was supposed to go down between the Blues and the Flyers, and it got nixed because Torey Krug has a no trade clause, or I believe a no move clause. And he let's take a look. Actually, I have Cat Friendly up right now, so I'll just take a look at that. Or, I mean Puckpedia, because we our corporate overlords at Puckpedia. Torey Krug has a no trade clause. It doesn't.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Doug Armstrong. If you don't want to have the trade you worked so hard to make next, don't hand out no trade and no movement clauses like they're Halloween candy. Which, I mean, holy moly, St. Louis, they have like 12 no trade clauses on their roster. Okay, like so over half their roster has no trade clauses.
So Braden Shen has a 15 no trade clause. Buchnevich is a 12. Saad has a 12.
Buchnevich plays for Vegas.
No, he doesn't. That's Barbashev.
Barbashev.
Yeah.
Buchnevich.
I was going to say, if Buchnevich played for Vegas, that'd be pretty sweet. Falk has a no trade clause. It's 15 for some reason. Torey Krug has a no trade clause. Colton Parayko has a no trade clause. Nick Leddy has a 16-team no trade clause.
Nick Leddy has a no trade clause?
And Marco Scandella has a modified no trade clause. It's 7 teams. Oh, and also Jordan Binnington has a no trade clause.
Oh my God.
That's very cool. And definitely not alarming at all. So here's the thing. Torey Krug, like, I don't understand why they thought Torey Krug would want to waive, because he just had, and this is according to John Buccigross, like, he just had a child 3 months ago, and
I follow his wife on Instagram. Their child is like, I want to say,
is
like
a fetus.
14 weeks old,
and they also have a 2-year-old daughter, and they just laid down roots there. So I don't know why they thought he would move. And on top of that, too, like, he is in the right for waiving this. And also, why would you want to go to the 2023-24 Philadelphia Flyers under John Tortorella? There is probably no, I would like,
Arizona exists.
Other than Arizona, there is no other team I would least like to play for if I was a player who had any choice over where I played.
Oh, I can name a few, but I don't want to get.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to go to Vancouver either. But I mean, I'm serious. Like imagine going to a team that is going to suck really bad, and on top of sucking really bad, you have to deal with John Tortorella every day.
Well, he's dealing with Craig Berube right now, which is not exactly any better.
Yeah, but at least it's better than John Tortorella.
I don't know about that one.
Craig Berube sucks as a human, I guess, or not as a human. No, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but like in terms of being a coach, like a boss,
yeah, he's difficult to deal with.
But I would take Craig Berube over John Tortorella.
And okay, so like the deal would have involved sending Kevin Hayes and Travis Sanheim the other way. Obviously, Travis Sanheim is the key part in that deal because he's relatively young. I believe he's a year younger than us.
He's 26, I believe.
Yeah, so he's a year younger than us. And he's got an 8-year, $625 million deal. Last summer,
he just signed it too.
Last summer, before he signed that extension, there were a lot of teams, and I mean a lot as in more than 2 hands worth of teams that were calling on Travis Sanheim because teams valued him. So he's a good defenseman. Don't get it twisted that because he played in the tire fire that was Philadelphia this year and was paired with Rasmus Ristolainen,
who was under contract at $5.1 million for another 40 seasons, by the way,
till the end of time. Funny, Rasmus Ristolainen got a longer contract than Taylor Hall. Let's just pause and think about that for a second.
Hilarious. Chuck Fletcher is so bad. Can't wait to watch him on Sportsnet's panel for the draft.
Right, but I can't be on any television panel because, yeah, anyways, carry on. Yeah, Kevin Hayes is, it's not great. Travis Sanheim would be a nice addition to a St. Louis Blue Line that eventually is probably going to have Scott Perunovich on it. They've got Joel Hofer coming. So I could see Doug Armstrong. He kind of wants to get younger. He's doing this retool on the fly. Some dummy tried to be like, Jordan Kyrie's in this deal. And I'm like, no, he absolutely isn't. Stop making crap up and putting it online. Like,
Is that Dave Pagnotta?
I don't even think it was him. Like, I think it was somebody even worse. But the bottom line is, if you want to be able to trade players, stop handing out trade protection. Like, 30% of the league has some sort of trade protection. There are not 200 players that deserve trade protection in the National Hockey League. There's like 3 players per team, which is 96. Like, stop handing it out. And if they don't want to sign with you because you won't give them trade protection, then they don't sign with you. But if you box yourself in, then like, what are you doing? Unless you're a top pair defenseman or a top line player, you don't get trade protection. End of story. That's it. It's done.
The NHL has, I believe it's in total, has 216 players, I believe, with no trade clauses, some form of trade protection. I believe that's more than 4 times any other sport. Like, here's how rare it is in the NBA.
That's so ridiculous.
How rare it is in the NBA is that for some reason, like the Washington Wizards gave Bradley Beal a no trade clause, and everyone was like, "Why the hell would you do that?" And it came back to bite them, and they got like a pitiful return for a guy who should be a top trade chip. That it is like it is insane.
Yeah, there are like I remember when Jay Beagle was given trade protection by Jim Benning, and I was like, "What, sir, are you doing?" Yeah, I think
Nick Delorier has a no trade clause, by the way.
Sorry, what?
I believe it's Nick Delorier. I have the Philadelphia Flyers up here.
That is preposterous. Yeah. Okay. So
Nick Delorier has a modified no trade clause.
If you are paying somebody less than $8.5 million a season, and you give them trade protection, you are a silly goose, and I don't feel bad for you if they nix a trade. Like, I just don't, because let them walk. Because if the entire league decides we're not giving them trade protection, then guess what? They're gonna have to sign without trade protection. This is stupid. Stop handing them out like Halloween candy. But then again, this is what happens when you have a bunch of guys who don't have university educations negotiating with full-blown members of the bar lawyers. That's what happens. They get taken to the woodshed. Like, we talk about this guy's contract is so bad for the team, XYZ. Well, yeah, Alan Walsh, full-blown lawyer. Pat Brisson, full-blown lawyer. Like, we have guys with high school educations negotiating contracts with lawyers. Think about that. Like, that is not remotely close to a level playing field.
Alex Barabanov has a modified no trade clause. Kyle Palmieri, modified no trade clause. I'm just looking at some, like, I'm just going around to teams being like,
some of this is not cute.
I'm just going around to teams and being like, who have the dumbest GMs?
Oh, Nick Delorier is really high up on that list.
That is absolutely insane that he has no trade clause.
Marco Scandella is also really high up on that list.
Look, obviously Mikheyev. I was looking at Vancouver because they're dumb. Marco Scandella is pretty rough.
Yeah,
I feel like the Jets would give out some weird ones. Let's take a look at that. Adam Lowry has a modified no trade clause. Interesting. Dylan DeMello.
No.
Adam Lowry.
The only defenseman on Winnipeg who should have no trade clause is Morrissey. Everybody else, no. And the only players up front that should have any sort of trade protection are Ehlers and Connor.
Yeah, but no, they don't. Dude, Sean Corrali has a no trade clause.
What?
Boone Jenner, no trade clause.
Sean Corrali's a 4th line player. What are we doing?
He's making $2.5 million, but he has no trade clause. Good Branson has a modified no trade clause. So
I would like to amend Nick Delorier is now actually not that. Eric Goodbranson is making 4x4, and he has a no trade clause. That contract is Seth Jones territory bad.
Elvis Merzlikins, no trade clause. I mean, I can understand that. Like, he was a decent goalie at one time. Christian Dvorak has a modified no trade clause.
God.
Joel Edmondson has a no trade clause, and so does Jake
so
Allen. Crazy stuff. Sorry, I could list these all day. It's insane. But
yeah, the moral of the story is stop handing out no movement clauses and no trade clauses. And if it means you lose out on a player, unless they're a superstar, you'll probably be better off for it anyways.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great way to bow tie that. Let's move on to another trade that could have been but wasn't. By the way, I love
and that
the
could
NHL.
Still happen. It could
still happen, but we'll see. I love the NHL, man. The NBA has just like legitimately like earth-shattering trades that are happening right now. And the NHL is like the two of our topics here are two trades that could have happened but didn't. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Here's another one. For some reason, the Carolina Hurricanes wanted to reacquire Tony DeAngelo. Now, here's the thing. Okay, I'm
not even sure if they wanted to reacquire him so much as John Tortorella saying, "Get him out of my dressing room, please, and off of the ice in front of me."
I understand. Look, that's the one thing where that's like the heartbreaking, the worst person you know makes a valid point.
John Tortorella is not the worst person
you know,
but
and he's the worst hockey coach I know.
No, he's not.
I don't like him as a hockey coach.
I was gonna say, I remind you who the former coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs is?
Like, oh yeah, my bad. I forgot he was back in. I forgot he was back in the.
Need I remind you who the former head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks is? Right.
Jeremy Collin?
Joel Quenneville.
Oh yeah. No, but okay. Anyway, I meant like tactically. I don't.
I was like,
No. But this is basically, and I know that it's a different GM involved on Philly's side, but what they would have done is basically money laundered Tony DeAngelo,
which is so funny.
Like they traded him. They didn't trade him. They traded his rights to the Philadelphia Flyers for a second, third, and fourth round pick in the draft last year. They basically gutted a team that was supposed to be in the process of a rebuild. They wanted to win, but they were in all intents and purposes the process of a rebuild.
At the behest of their coach too. He was like, "No, don't do it."
And they gutted their middle draft capital, and then they signed him to a 2-year, $10 million extension. And then on top of that, a year later, after healthy scratches and spats with his coach and just terrible stuff, the Hurricanes were in a process of getting him back basically for free at 50% retained.
It's honestly like, it's genuinely so funny because we were at the draft last year and that trade got announced. And
I was laughing.
I remember
chuckling.
You looked at the suite I was sitting in and you just saw me howling. Like we were howling. And it was like, what are they doing? So effectively, you gave up a second, a third, and a fourth for a guy to come in, cause a bunch of problems, be hated by his coach, and then leave?
Yeah.
Does that sound like these people know what they're doing? I mean, kudos to Danny Briere for recognizing, hey, this guy's got to go, like, no matter what. But at what point do you just say, that was ridiculous? Like, that was one of those things similar to the Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade. That was ridiculous the second it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone saw that one coming. We all said this is same with Rasmus Ristolainen. We were like, this is horrendous. But I don't know. Like, I think that he was fine in Carolina because he was playing behind Slavin and Pesce and Burns. Or not Burns, but Slavin and Pesce, and then they got Burns, and that was an upgrade. But
he was as sheltered as you can be, and he was still a defensive liability.
Like, I think this is basically just a contingency plan in case Carolina has to get rid of Brett Pesce. But, like, let's not get that twisted either. Brett Pesce is a significantly better defenseman than Tony DeAngelo, like, by a cosmic margin.
He can play the position that is in the title of his position. He can play defense.
That is usually a good start if you can
defense man.
Do the thing. And the thing about Tony DeAngelo in Carolina is there are enough people in Carolina, be it like Rod Brindamore or Brent Burns or Jacob Slavin or Jordan Stahl, that can pick up Tony DeAngelo by the neck and be like, get your crap together, starting with his head coach.
The reason why DeAngelo is still in the NHL to this day is because of that season he spent
under Rod Brind'Amour.
Under Rod Brind'Amour. Brind'Amour was like basically just like, cut it out.
Like, yeah, he was like, listen.
He's like, listen, you're going to play hockey and you're going to shut your goddamn mouth whenever you step off the ice. Like, I don't want to hear a single word from you.
I don't want to see a tweet. I don't want to hear a podcast note. Zero. Zip.
You are done.
Yeah.
So pretty wild. And listen, so the NHL acts that because there's language in the CBA that you can't trade a player away and then reacquire them within 12 months, even though it's happened before.
Well, you can. It just cannot be on retained salary.
Yes. And the thing is the NHL, both sides are like, this is, I mean, first of all, we traded his rights. Like the contract was signed by Philly. So it's different. And also it was a totally different GM that we traded him to that is trading it back to us. So it's different.
I think this deal will get done, honestly, because I think that
will they be able to though?
Yes, because I think it'll go to an arbitrator, and the arbitrator strictly looks at the language, and the language says that Carolina would have had to have signed the contract, then traded him and reacquired him. Carolina did not sign that contract. Philadelphia did. His rights were traded, and that's different. So I think once the language and stuff gets ironed out, I think the deal will go through. And if not, they'll wait until July 9th and they'll know that it's in the top desk drawer and everything will be fine.
So Tony D is going back to Carolina.